I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had an experience with God that later on, as you begin to live your life, the experience that we experience and have in life begins to bring doubt to that initial experience with God? Because we look back and we say, "Well, where does the feel?" I've had people talk to me and they said, I just miss the feeling. I don't feel like I am close to God. And the question was, what happened? Because you see, getting to know God has levels. There are levels that you and I initially experience God in the simplicity of life and the simplicity of our own thinking. And then we establish reality there and come into life. And if we're not careful, life will always measure whether what we're feeling, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. You wake up in the morning and you don't feel like, you feel like, what happened? It's not real anymore. And so if we maintain an attitude of that, or we allow that doubt to have a place to lodge its accusation in our hearts, that doubt will come back to haunt us later on. Because one of the things that you can know for sure is that one doubt will lead to another and will lead to another. And before you know it, your reality and my reality is no longer based on the truth we once know, but it's based on our feelings and the reality of what we see and touch and hear. Remember, God is bigger than everything we can feel or see or think about. But oftentimes, knowing God is measured on different levels. There's a simple level that we experience Him and have fun in that. And then as we live, or some people call it maturity, we become mature, and we become so mature to the point that we compromised the truth. So what I want to do in these videos is to help you establish remind us of what life was like. And you may be listening to this and your initial experience with God was maybe 10, 15 years ago. And right now you and I are living in a reality that's based on what we touch, feel, and see. And they are far from what we had in the beginning. And that is the danger of not understanding from the beginning that knowing God requires levels of thinking, new levels of embracing truth and reality based on how we feel and what we see. And so knowing God is very important. And this is one of the reasons why it's important to have a solid foundation when we start. Now, I have met people who said to me, it's been 10 years since I was a Christian, but right now I'm not even sure if I can do it. Or some people, worse, are saying, I used to do that. I used to do that. And if you ask them the question, what happened? They may not be able to pinpoint a time when doubt began to come in based on a new level of reality. Remember, you and I as a 10-year-old does not behave or do things the same as a 15, 16, 18-year-old, let alone a 20, 30, 40-year-old. Different levels of physical growth require different levels of consuming food and nutrients, different levels of exercise and maintaining our body. And so does the requirement for maintaining a new level of knowing God. You can know Him by studying the Word. You can know Him by always bringing your whole life experience to the truth and the reality of what you first experienced and know Him as. and then everything else will fall in place. By the way, this is Sosene Leao, and if you find any value in these videos, it's intended to help you and I to walk a life that is consistent with what we initially started. Remember what Paul said? He said, I know this very much, he who began a good work in us will complete it to the end. And so always keep a guard and watch over your own life to make sure that you and I will not run the race in vain. If you find any value here, please click like and subscribe to my channel so that you can come back and we have some ongoing videos both in this area and in other things that pertains to how we can maintain and how we can encourage each other in God. God bless you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.